Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where each and every Wednesday evening, our social media, except for TikTok tonight, I guess, go live another time. And I do apologize if we have camera issues. I sure hope not, but I seem to have a little bit of slow internet. But we're going to do our very best and hope for the best. I'm over on Instagram as well. So for a little bit of backup, maybe you guys can go over to Instagram if something goes wrong across the other social media. I sure hope not. Everybody cross your fingers simultaneously. Send me all the cross fingers emojis. And let me know if you're out there watching. It's good to see everybody back watching the channel and watching the live stream. We try to go live each and every Wednesday night, like I mentioned. And this show is, of course, free. Hello, Viviana. Nice to see you watching. I see you over on Instagram as well, which is pretty cool. This show is free, but if you'd like to leave us a donation or tip of some sort, we have Venmo, Cash App. We even have a PayPal as well. And we have our Amazon wish list, and we even have Patreon. You can find that on our website, onceinawild.com, and also linked below in the description. Without, oh, it's a little bit fuzzy. So somebody's saying it's fuzzy on some of the social media. Let me know how it looks, Ricky. You're my tester tonight because we had some slow internet. I think Instagram looks good though. I sure hope it looks okay. You guys let me know if it's like really bad and I'll just restart. I think it's because of all the rain we've been having. Finally, here in Texas, we've been getting a lot of rain and of course a little bit of thunderstorms and things like that. So it might be part of the internet issue, but I think we're just going to keep going. I think without further ado, let's play our theme song. Our intro theme song anyway, and we'll get going. Once again, hello everybody. My name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild Wednesday. We are usually live every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, since we are in Texas, and we're actually located in San Antonio, Texas, so we can actually service your area here in San Antonio. If you don't live in San Antonio, then we can go a little bit outside of town, and we can also bring the zoo to you virtually, of course, across the whole entire world, because we have things like Zoom nowadays, so we can actually do a virtual program for you guys, and fix you up with a Zoom room animal encounter, and those are a lot of fun too. And they kind of look like this. So we have our purple backdrop and everything, and we bring out animals to meet you guys, and you can learn about them and ask questions. They're still really popular for things like school programs across the United States and across the world. So those have been a lot of fun, very popular throughout the whole of the pandemic, but still, of course, a little bit popular as well. But our in-person animal encounters have taken over, and we do offer those in the San Antonio and surrounding cities area. And sometimes we even have public events. Those could be free or not free. We always post our public event information on our website as well, onceinawild.com. Speaking of the website, look very, very soon. Stay tuned to our website, making a lot of improvements and additions and things like that. We've been working really hard on all of that lately. And yeah, we have been getting a lot of rain, like you mentioned. Lots of rain in your area too. I see, Viviana. That makes sense. If you guys are over on Facebook or YouTube or any of the other social medias besides Instagram, let me know how it's looking and sounding. I'm having a little bit of I think slow internet today, so we'll just hope for the best, and we'll still keep going, of course, on Instagram, so that way we have a little bit of a backup, like I mentioned before. Now, if you're not familiar with us, before I forget to talk to you guys about what we do, we are a mobile zoo, so that means we have animals that are on the smaller side that can travel with us in our vehicles, and we actually will bring the animals to classrooms, to birthday parties, to all sorts of events, to libraries, to all kinds of things, hospitals, you name it. We can bring animals to events most of the time. and we can make them better for you guys and teach you guys about the animals, give you guys some time with the animals. We offer petting zoo services, animal presentations, which are very informative and educational. And we also do meet and greets, which are more informal and more like a photo opportunity. We can do a complete photo op for you too if you want something for your next like wedding event or something like that. We can have photo op opportunities. We recently did one of those with one of our big snakes, David Boa. That was very successful too. So we do those as well. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. Animal therapy is also something we offer as well. And I think that's pretty much all of our encounters in a nutshell. Now, if you ever have questions about any of that, you can reach out to us. Our number is on our website, onceinawild.com. Actually down below on most of our social media right now as well. And we always have our number on the Instagram description too. If you guys want to ever reach out to me and ask questions about the company or your next animal event or how to book, please reach out anytime. Last week, we actually answered a whole lot of FAQs on the last program. So last week we were live, of course, and we were talking about a whole bunch of frequently asked questions. I just had one animal on the program, and it was Rango, our Eurasian eagle owl, and he was hanging out with me the entire time, did fantastic for almost an hour and a half, just sitting here with me, and he did wonderfully as usual. And that was a really cool program, though, because you can go back and look at last week's to maybe answer some of your questions that you may have about the company itself. We are going to be very soon posting all of those FAQs on the website, just like most other companies have FAQ pages on their website too. So we're slowly building our company up and our website up. We are a pretty new company. We opened up right before the pandemic. Convenient. And right. And we're still here, thank goodness, and evolving all the time. But that is pretty much what we do. We offer animal programs in person or virtually to really anyone. If you happen to be in our area, we are completely accessible to anybody, any age, any lifestyle. As long as animals are allowed to go to your location, we can bring them to your location, and that is most of the time. I've never had a ton of trouble bringing the animals that we have to locations because we have smaller animals that are, of course, they can travel well, and also they're safe animals to be around. So even if it's an animal that's not appropriate to touch, like maybe the owl is a great example. He's not really appropriate to touch because he doesn't like it, and he's not a pet, and he's not a domestic species. Some animals, like our ball pythons, are perfectly easy to hold and safe to touch and things like that. But some animals, even the ones that are more display or presentation style, they're still safe to be around because we're going to make sure that everything's safe and controlled and do our very best to keep everybody safe. We've never had one incident since opening Once in a Wild, and we're very proud of that. And we are happy to be able to service almost anybody across South Texas, which is pretty cool. And also virtually everywhere. So how does it look over there? You let me know. Not on Instagram, but the rest of them. So hello, Ricky. Hi, I know you're watching. Any upcoming public events? Yes, we do. So let me highlight that. Any upcoming public events? Yes, we always post our public events over on the website, onceinawild.com. And the one coming up is going to be Labor Day weekend, the first weekend of September. We're going to be here in San Antonio downtown at the historic Market Square for both days, Saturday and Sunday, for Labor Day weekend. And that's going to be for a window of time. It's not going to be all day long, as you might imagine. I think we're doing a 3-hour stretch each day. So if you happen to be in our area, check out the website and make sure what time. We're also going to post that on social media. Please follow us on social media. That helps us out quite a bit. A free way to help us out. If you do want to tip or donate, that is fantastic. But if you just want to follow us and maybe like some of our posts and share some of the posts and ask questions and leave comments, that helps us out quite a bit as well. And also tagging us in your photo. If you've ever had a Once in a Wild event, whether it's a public event that you just like went to go visit and you had a picture maybe with one of our snakes or an owl or whatever it may be. We have lots more animals than just snakes and owls, I promise. In fact, I bought 3 that are not snakes or owls for the show today. But what I was going to say, if you have a cool photo that you want to share, maybe you're already posting it on your social media, make sure and tag us, #OnceInAWildZoo. That actually helps us to see the photos and be able to share the photos too, so people can see your good time and hopefully want to book their good time coming up, if that makes sense. So that helps a lot of small businesses and large businesses to have like kind of free advertising, basically. So if you have any photos that you don't mind sharing with us, you can tag us by, of course, tagging us, but also hashtag #OnceInAWildZoo. Another great and free way to help us out is simply by leaving a Google review. You can leave a 5-star review, even if you've just seen us in person once and it was a public event, or if you've had a private party, like a birthday party, or really anything, classroom presentation, or you just love the live stream and you want to comment on that. Please go to Google reviews and leave a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot too, because we don't have a ton of those yet because we are a brand new and small company. So today, you guys, I brought all mammals to the show. Viviana, it's not the rabbit, but I did bring 3 other mammals. We have mammals here at Once in a Wild. We also have birds, we have reptiles, and we have amphibians and invertebrates. We have all sorts of different types of animals for every taste. If you like furry animals, this is the show for you. We have a whole bunch of furry mammals on the show today. I brought 3 of them. We're going to meet them one by one right out here on the table, and you're going to get to know a little bit about them, and you can ask me questions or leave a compliment or comment about the animals. That is very, very welcomed. By the way, this is an interactive event. I do always love your comments, questions, concerns, and compliments. I'll take all of those, and as long as they're family friendly, I can share them on the stream and talk about them and address them, right? No Sandor today, maybe next time. I know, shucks. Sandor is our Flemish giant rabbit, and he is so popular and so amazing. He's just a little bit hard to show on the live stream, so I have to do a lot of prep to get the area ready for him, although I did pretty much prep it the same as I would for the rabbit to be on here, but on Instagram, you're a little bit too close, so I would have to do a big giant panorama because he is so big. Our Flemish giant rabbit is around 22 pounds, and he is one of the largest breeds of rabbit in the world. He is not your average sized rabbit, and he is just beautiful, if I do say so myself. And everybody that meets him loves him. He's very pettable. The 3 animals that we brought today, let me think. All 3 of these animals that you're going to see today, one of them is domestic, 2 of them are not domestic technically, and all 3 of them for our purposes are hands off to the public, but of course super safe to be nearby when you're getting a presentation or a photo op or meet and greet or something like that. And they're 3 of my favorite mammals that we actually have. So let's go ahead and get started. I brought a mat right here for the first mammal coming out. He tends to be a little bit messy sometimes, so I tend to bring an extra mat for him, and then we'll move that mat away and bring out the second animal. That is another kind of frequently asked concern / question that we get about our animal programs, and that is whether or not they're messy. We have a lot of really cool pro tips that we do to ensure that we're not going to leave a huge mess in your space, whether it's your home, your classroom, whatever it may be. Here he is. This is Linus. He is an African hedgehog. I guess he's going to stay put in my hand. There he goes. But if anybody leaves a mess, because animals do make messes sometimes, it happens a lot. Some of our animals are more messy than others, but for some of them that we kind of expect to use the restroom, or we just, just in case, we do typically have things like this. So we'll have a little mat for them to be on in case they go potty. It goes into the mat and not onto your home. It will probably be on our table, or we'll be holding them in our hands in this case. That way, we take the heat and you guys don't have to worry about the mess. And we always clean up after ourselves after each and every program we do. And we do our very best not to leave any mess. We can even vacuum if you let us for some of the hair and things. We do our very best to make sure you have a clean home when we leave. So this is Linus. Linus is an African hedgehog. He is one of our rehomed animals. Many of our animals are actually rescues or rehomed or secondhand, if you will. He was somebody's pet that didn't want him anymore. He's actually had a couple of homes. And he is very young. We do not know his age at all because I don't know his birthday, but I do assume that he's pretty young because when I got him, he was even smaller than this. And he's very sweet, by the way. He's a very sweet African hedgehog. They're not all this sweet. He's probably my favorite I've ever worked with or had. And so I'm so happy to have him. But these guys, oftentimes people will adopt them. Let me give him some little treats, see if he wants the treats. A lot of times people will adopt these guys, and then they kind of have expectations of them being very domestic, being cuddly, being social, and they're really just not any of those things. Now, Linus is really tolerant of humans. He's very, very sweet, and he comes out a lot, and he shows his face, and he's super cute. He doesn't really like to be held, but he tolerates it really well. He does poop a lot, so that's one thing. He goes to the bathroom a lot, as most hedgehogs do. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't fall. I guess he doesn't like the worm treats. Let me just give him some food then. I was gonna offer him some treats, but I think maybe he just wants kibble. And sometimes hedgehogs don't really do well eating in front of people anyway, so we'll just see what he does. I just thought he would want some. Trying to help you out, buddy. You want some? Would you like some? This is just his regular diet, which is kitten kibble and worms. Sometimes he gets crickets as well for treats. And things like that. Sometimes we do wax worms for treats too. He's being shy about eating right now. But as you can see, he's kind of on this very lush, plush, absorbent mat. It's a bath mat. It's just a kind of a small bath mat. and we can travel with these. We can easily wash them. There he goes, eating a little snack. That's super cute. Sometimes hedgehogs, they're really funny. So hedgehogs are nervous animals, and they're also nocturnal. That's another kind of downside about having one for a pet, for example. And they will oftentimes scare themselves while they're eating because of the crunchy food that they eat. So it makes a little bit of sound, and it makes them nervous. So I've seen that a lot with hedgehogs. When they eat their kibble, it's like very, very loud. And they kind of make a crunching sound, and it kind of makes them nervous, so they want to ball up. So a hedgehog, like I said, he was a secondhand kind of pet from somebody else, and they were very happy to donate him over to a good home. But a lot of people do get hedgehog. They impulse buy one without doing a whole lot of research, or maybe they just get tired of them because they're really not domesticated. Now, hedgehogs have been pets for a while. I'm not saying they're terrible, horrible pets, but they're not the best pets. They're really not a domestic species. They're the same species they are in the wild. What else? They're nocturnal. They sleep all day long and strictly nocturnal. He's coming out right now because he's a good hedgehog. I say good. He's a very good hedgehog for what we do because he tolerates being out a lot. But most hedgehogs will kind of just ball up and want to be left alone during the day. They don't care about you at all. And they'll run around all night making a huge mess and needing lots of cleanup. And you have to clean them every single day. These guys are not an animal where you can skip on the husbandry part of it because they're super messy. They have poop that is really big for their size, and their poop gets smeared all over the place if they step in it. And so it's important to give them the right substrate for them to live on so they don't experience too much poop. I'm gonna hold them for you guys. And also, what else? They run on wheels. They have to run on a solid wheel so they can have enough exercise because these guys need a ton of exercise to thrive. In the wild, these guys run up to 12 miles a night. And they're strictly nocturnal. They're only going to be out at night, but they're going to run around like crazy looking for food and just being active. And so they need some form of exercise. Now, most people don't give their hedgehog free roam of their house or let them have an entire room to run around, although that would be pretty cool. Most people will just give them a wheel, which is what we do as well. So when they run on their wheel, they're going to usually go to the bathroom, and that's going to smear all over the place. And so we have to clean their feet often, and we have to clean the wheel every day. As long as it's dirty, we clean it, and that's typically every day because they are going to be running on that wheel. And so anyway, a lot of times people will get them and then they don't want them anymore. It happens a lot. They're not the easiest to hold if you aren't familiar with how to hold them as well. It takes kind of a tolerant person to deal with all their spines because their spines are sharp. Their spines are their only form of defense. They can bite, but they usually don't, and they typically don't bite hard. And these guys are an African species. So being an African animal, they have a lot of potential predators or at least very dangerous animals. And so having those spines is their only real defense, being such a tiny little guy, right? So they do curl up and have all these spines that stick out in different directions, right? And that's going to help them stay safe. So they will actually curl up so tight and kind of like flex their spines in different directions like that. And that will be so hard to eat for a predator that they really don't have that many predators. So a healthy, happy, and adult hedgehog, it's not like a baby one, and it's not like super elderly one, right? A good prime aged hedgehog that's able to ball up and use its spines and everything. They really don't have very many predators. Their only predator typically is owls. Owls are by default out at night at the same time they are. And other birds of prey could probably eat them too if they happen to be out during the day and stuff like that. But most birds of prey aren't out during the day. It's just the owls and maybe a couple others maybe out in the dusk or the dawn, right? And hedgehogs don't like any of that light. So in the wild, they really don't come out at all except for in the night. And that helps them to stay a little safer from some of the predators that might be out during the day. And that's just when they're uncomfortable. That's what they've adapted to, right? But because of that, it's really just the owl that eats them. Now, there's different species of owl. There's big owls and medium-sized owls that can easily eat a hedgehog. And the reason that owls can eat them and not other animals is because owls have long talons. It's their toenails, right? So they can reach and grab the hedgehog without really touching the hedgehog. Their feet are also very tough compared to the paws of a mammal. Owls and other birds have scaled feet, right? Or even feathered feet. There's feathery-footed owls too, like the Eurasian eagle owl. So on the bottom of the Eurasian eagle owl's foot, though, they do have kind of like scaly foot pads, and then they have a lot of feathers on top, right? But if they grab the hedgehog, they can pick it up without kind of touching it too much, and they actually have a beak instead of a soft mouth, so they can eat the hedgehog without touching too many spines. So that's really their only main predator, and that's really impressive to me because look how tiny they are. This is a tiny little animal, fits into my hand, And did you know that the hedgehog also shares the same habitat as the African porcupine? So the African hedgehog lives in the savanna, and so does the African porcupine. But the African hedgehog and the African porcupine, though they have some similarities, are not related whatsoever. They're both mammals. We brought all mammals on the show today. 3 mammals for you guys, the furry ones. So mammals have hair or fur, at least at some point in their life. Did you guys know that dolphins actually have a mustache or like whiskers when they're born, and then their whiskers kind of fall out later? But it still counts as having hair at some point in their life. It can even be fine hair, like a naked mole rat has like whiskers and fine hair. That still counts as well. These guys, of course, have hair, so they're mammals. That's the main factor in a mammal being a mammal. No other animal has hair but mammals. So mammals have hair. Mammals also feed milk to their babies. Did you know a baby hedgehog is called a hoglet? That is really cute. They are born without the spines, just so you know. So mom can actually give birth to them without too much pain. I'm sure it's still like a typical birth. There's a little bit there, but not as spiky, right? And then they get their spines a little bit later on. It's usually like a day or 2 later, or 3. I can't remember how many days, but it's a few days. And then they get their spines later. But baby hedgehogs are very helpless. They're usually kept inside mom's burrow until they are at least a little bit more substantially sized, and mom will just nurse them. That's how they feed them. Mom will eat a lot of bugs. They are insectivores. These guys eat bugs and I guess cat kibble in human care. He's eating worms today and cat kibble, which is a nice high protein kitten kibble for him. But, oh, sorry, buddy. I keep making smacking noises when I talk, and I guess they don't like that. Maybe it scares them. So the hedgehog, super capable of defending itself, like I said. But the porcupine that also lives in Africa, and porcupines live other places too, so do hedgehogs. But I just wanted to tell you guys that the African hedgehog, which is what you see before you, Linus is an African hedgehog from Africa. They live in the savannas of Africa, which is like grasslands. That's where a lot of animals live in Africa, right? Like lions, leopards, hyenas, giraffes, zebras, elephants, all those famous African creatures live in that habitat. And so that's what we usually think of when we think of Africa. But so does the African porcupine. Now, the African porcupine is the world's largest porcupine. There's a Cape porcupine and there's an African, like, crested porcupine. And they're almost the same thing. And those guys are huge. Now, by weight, the American porcupine is the same weight as the African porcupine, but by size and quill length, my goodness, the African porcupine is definitely the biggest and most impressive in my opinion. I do love them. I've worked with them before. And one of my dream animals for once in a while soon. But did you know that those animals are not related? They are actually rodents for the porcupines and shrew family for hedgehogs. So hedgehogs are their own thing, but they're very closely related in retrospect to shrews. And shrew-like mammals are insectivores. They eat bugs. They have usually kind of slender faces with usually almost like an elephant nose. There's an elephant shrew. They have almost like a prehensile nose. It's a long rostrum that they have. The rostrum is like your snout, right? So like for example, a dolphin has a rostrum instead of a nose. A dolphin has a blowhole instead of a nose in the front, right? But it's still your rostrum. So they have a very long snout or rostrum. That's the shrew family. Shrews are also, they kind of look like rodents, but they're absolutely not in their teeth. So in teeth, these guys have more similar teeth to like a dog than a rodent. A rodent has like bucky teeth. So a porcupine that I was talking about before may be similar to this, but they're not related. The porcupine has bucky teeth in the top and the bottom. They have 2 incisors on the top and 2 incisors on the bottom that they never they actually they always grow, and they will continuously chew on things to wear their teeth down. I hope that makes sense. So like a beaver, a rat, a squirrel, all those guys, guinea pig. We have guinea pigs here once in a while. Do you guys know our guinea pigs? Those are all rodents. They have different dentition in their mouth, the teeth, and that's what gives them the name rodent. Dent means teeth, and they have to wear their teeth down. These guys actually have like kind of spiky teeth, like a predator would have. So they do have little canines on top and bottom, and they have all kind of like spiky, uniform-ish teeth that kind of look like they remind me of like a really tiny dog. Like imagine a teeny tiny dog, and that's kind of what their teeth look like. Look up hedgehog teeth, and you will get a really cool picture on Google. But oh, sorry, buddy. That's just the way I talk, and I keep scaring him. But they're very sensitive to noise. Can you tell? So these guys have really bad eyesight. I see a question here. Ricky says, is their vision good? No, it's not good. So both the porcupine and the hedgehog have something in common, and that is kind of poor eyesight. I would say the porcupine has better eyesight than a hedgehog. Hedgehogs can barely see anything. They're super duper poor sight, and they see really just shadows, no color at all, but they're nocturnal. They don't need color anyway. Some nocturnal animals do see color very well. Fun fact, owls actually don't really see color very well, but they see some color. They're not colorblind. These guys are colorblind, and their vision is super duper nearsighted, but they can see a little bit. And so there's other senses. All the rest of their 4 senses are very heightened because they can see very well. So on mammals, usually all 5 senses are present. And they're present on him. He can see, he can hear, he can see, he can hear, he can touch, he can taste, and he can smell. But the seeing is the worst one of all. So seeing, not good. Smell, excellent. That would be their best. Hearing is probably their second best, and very close tie is going to be, or almost a tie, is going to be their sense of touch. So they do have very sensitive whiskers. Their body in general, with the hair and everything, most of us have a good sense of touch as mammals, right? They got a great sense of touch, and they can sense danger if something goes to grab them or something like that. They can curl up into a ball, or just to get around. They have these little whiskers, right? And they can kind of whisker around. Is that a word? Is whisker a adjective? Or not, I'm sorry, what is the word? Adjective. Is whisker a verb? Verb, right? Verb is the action word, right? Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've taken an English class. Or grammar. Oh, me as a grammar Nazi, you'd think I would know this stuff. But anyway, he can whisker around, he can feel around with his whiskers. And that's going to tell him what's going on, how he can, when they're in their burrows, because they do have burrows, and when they come out to just get around and navigate and look for food, their food happens to be like wiggly worms and insects. So all those animals move around a lot. So having whiskers to be able to sense those helps a lot. And he's got a great sense of smell on top of that. And he can hear them. Have you guys ever listened to insects before? Even insects that don't make vocalizations, if you will. Crickets, by the way, vocalize with their wings. They don't really use this. They use their wings. But a lot of bugs are very noisy when they crawl around and things. So if you listen to like a cricket inside of a cup, if you're a reptile person, you know what I'm talking about. Or even mealworms or superworms crawling around, they make a lot of noise. So that's another way that a hedgehog in the wild could find their food. And they need a lot of food every single night. These guys are out all night long running around and looking for protein. They need a lot of food to be able to sustain their body. They are carnivores and they are insectivores. Now these guys can occasionally eat plants, but it's not super good for them. A lot of people back in the day used to feed these guys all kinds of fruit and treats, if you will. But that goes for a lot of animals where we didn't really know much about their diet. Some people still feed them a little bit of vegetation. It really just goes through them. They don't really need it. They can 100% live on an all protein diet. If you ever have questions about hedgehog care, feel free to let us know. I do not recommend these guys for pets for the average person. They are just not a good pet choice, in my opinion. There are far better choices of mammals for pets. Cats and dogs are great pets. Not for everybody, but they're good selection. I think a cat is the best pet. But if you're allergic to cats or you just can't have one, or maybe, you don't know what you're doing there. A small mammal wise, I would say rats are really good pets. Guinea pigs are really good pets, and whatnot. And that's because they're domesticated. Domestic rats and domestic guinea pigs and whatnot. Those guys have been pets for a long, long time. Guinea pigs are one of my favorite rodents to recommend because they live a little bit longer than rats. They're not as... they don't climb, so they're a little bit easier to house, in my opinion. But guinea pigs are a high maintenance animal. That doesn't mean they're low maintenance just because they're a good pet. What makes a good pet anyway? Pets aren't for everyone, right? There's a lot of cleanup, but they're gentle. They're typically social, right? And guinea pigs are active a lot, so they won't really like go to bed and you won't see them all day like a hedgehog, right? And hedgehogs, remember, are not rodents, but they somehow become popular pets. Some way, somehow, but I would discourage you from getting one unless you are like expert level, honestly, because they typically don't do very well in human care. They don't live very long. They do have tendencies to get sick. They can get cancer and all sorts of different upper respiratory diseases and all kinds of things. They don't live a long life expectancy, like I think I mentioned already. These guys usually make it anywhere from 3 to maybe 4 in human care. I hope Linus is super young because I absolutely love him. And in the wild, they live less than that. So they're just not a very long-lived animal at all. They're very short, speedy life, grow up fast, and then just live for a little bit. And their main purpose in nature is to eat a lot of insects and to be food for some animals, right? Like owls and other maybe birds, things like that. But it's really just the owls that eat them. They're not food for a whole lot of animals because of all the spines. Oh my goodness. Let's see what questions you guys have or comments. Let me see. So cute, sniffing around. Thank you. Look at that baby, so precious. Thank you. Linus is my favorite hedgehog we've ever had at Once in a Wild, and my favorite hedgehog I've ever worked with, which is saying a lot because I've worked with quite a few of them. Some of my background is in veterinary stuff. I was a veterinary technician and a receptionist for a long time at different veterinary clinics. I've also worked in pet stores. I've also worked with lots of domestic animals and lots of exotic pet animals. And I've also worked at other zoos, obviously, and aquariums. And these guys are used a lot for outreach because they are fairly easy to house. They're not great pets, but they're fairly easy to house for like a zoo because they're small, right? And not dangerous animals, right? We can still hold them even though they're not the greatest for holding. But they are great for education. These guys are so popular. When they come out to a show, people just gasp and think they're so adorable and they want all the selfies, which is totally fine. So all of our animal programs, we encourage you guys to take pictures. We encourage you guys to have a great experience and enjoy yourself. You're still going to learn something too, which is also fun too. One of my favorite things about working with animals is always learning about them and learning new things. But the better choice than just getting one, if it's not the right fit for you, is actually just hiring us so you can meet one in person, maybe get some pictures, maybe get a little bit of experience being around them, and instead of just buying one. Because a lot of times these guys will end up homeless, like I mentioned before. And that's just a shame. They're wonderful animals. They don't deserve any of that. It's not their fault that they're just poor pets. They're their own thing, aren't they? They lose their teeth like humans do? Most mammals do, so I believe they do too. Pretty sure almost every mammal species goes through like a baby tooth stage, and then they grow in adult teeth. I could be wrong. There might be exceptions to the rule, but a lot of them do that. Some mammals do that like really quickly, and they're through it before you know it. That's a great question. I have to look that up. Here's a good question. What are the top things you wish you knew before you got your first hedgehog? A couple of things. I wish I was told that they don't live very long. I pretty much already knew that, but I didn't know how common it was for them to like become very ill and just pass away and things like that. Don't get me wrong. If they become ill, we take our animals to the vet and we make sure that we can take care of them. But sometimes you can't do anything. Sometimes no matter how well you take care of your animals, they can still get things like cancer, and there's nothing we can really do about that. Certain types of cancer you can, take off tumors that are like on the outside, but hedgehogs are actually prone to tumors on the inside of their body, and their body is so tiny that a lot of times those tumors will grow so fast that they will take over and it's just too late. And usually they don't make it, which is so sad. Not all of them get like that, but some of them do. Do they eat dead animals? Yeah, they can eat dead animals. So if they find dead bugs in the wild, they'll eat dead bugs. They'll eat all kinds of stuff, but they definitely hunt most of their food. Most of their food is going to be live bugs that they catch. They're really good little hunters. Next time somebody asks you what's an example of an African predator, you can tell them hedgehog, and they'll give you a funny face, and you can tell them you learned that on Once in a Wild. What else do we wish we learned? Well, things that you want in a pet are like handleability, cuddliness, social time, things like that. These guys are none of that. Some hedgehogs are really great, and some hedgehogs want nothing to do with you at all. He's digging around over here in this mat. It's super cute. So most of them really don't want your attention whatsoever. You can try to train them. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible to condition a hedgehog who's grumpy into being a sweeter hedgehog, but it's kind of like a cat. So when you get a kitten, if you've ever gotten a kitten, I have had kittens in the past, and I've had adult cats. For me, a better pet is an adult cat because you can see their personality right away. A kitten, a lot of times they'll be one way and then they'll totally change their personalities once they grow up. Some cats want nothing to do with humans, no matter what you do with them, right? You can certainly train a cat. Cats are very smart and trainable and motivated. But some cats just have a personality that's not suited to be cuddled and held. And some cats are fantastic. So it's kind of like that. You kind of just get what you get, but you can do your best to adapt to that. Some are just absolutely not having it when it comes to being handled. So that's just a couple of things that I wish I knew. If you live in a colder climate, where like not Texas is usually really hot, but it also gets cold in the wintertime. If you live in those places where it stays cold, you have to have a heat source for your hedgehog. We actually do heat our room when it becomes cool enough to do so. when it's not cold. The room that they live in is very warm, so they don't really need heat in our particular setup. But many hedgehogs do need heat because they don't do well getting cold at all. These guys don't deal with any cold seasons in the wild, and they're not adapted to hibernation or anything. In fact, if they go into hibernation, which they can go into like a false hibernation if they get too cold, these guys get extremely sick from that. Their bodies are so tiny, and they really cannot go very long without eating. They eat every single night. And so skipping meals is very serious for them because they're teeny tiny little animals, and they're carnivores. They need protein. They need a lot of energy. And so if they get too cold, they're not going to be eating well. They're going to get sick. That is an emergency with a hedgehog if they get too cold. So that's another thing you have to consider. Please don't get a hedgehog, but if you happen to ever get one or you already have one, and you live somewhere that gets a little colder, or you just keep your house cold, you need to have some sort of heat source. Some people use like a very like kind of a lower grade ceramic heater that people use for like baby chickens and things like that. You can use one of those, but you have to be careful that you don't catch fires, right? Depending on what substrate you're using and what type of setup, you have to set it up very safely. And also some people use like heat pads or space heaters. We use a space heater when it gets too cold in their room, because that's more than plenty to keep that room warm for the hedgehog specifically, and for some of the other animals too, that like it a little warmer. The only one in that room where they live, because we've got our hedgehogs, some of our birds, the giant rabbit, and the guinea pigs living in one general room, and then they've all got different spaces, right? So the one that doesn't like the heat is going to be Sandor the rabbit, but he can obviously get away from the heater that we have in there. So he does okay. It's a big enough space. But yeah, everything, it's not as simple as you would think. Their setup isn't necessarily super complicated, but they are very messy, so we have to clean up every single day. Every single day. That is definitely true. And we have to check their food and water every single day, since they're sometimes going to turn over their water. They're sometimes going to eat all of their food, and they don't have any more. Laverne, our other hedgehog, actually eats all of her food every single night, and she's a little piggy, so we limit her food. She actually is prone to getting very, very overweight. He isn't. He actually will just eat a little bit, and then kind of like leave it and then eat some more and leave it, eat some more. We always check it, obviously. He's not a pig like Laverne is, right, Linus? Linus and Laverne forever. Just kidding. What else do y'all have to say? Let me see. I know some people have to go. That's totally fine. That was a good question. Please ask me more questions if you have any. I think we're going to move on to another animal. Oh, here's another question. Do they bite? That's a great question about any animal. Any animal with a mouth can bite you, except for a few of them. There's a few animals that don't really have teeth, or they don't have a big enough mouth to bite, rather, and that can be like an anteater, for example. Anteaters don't really have the capacity to bite. Instead, they have claws for defense. But a hedgehog certainly has teeth, and they can bite. They don't usually bite, though, because their defense is not usually biting. They bite their food, and they curl up into a ball and have all their spines for defense instead of using their bites. But most animals, wild animal and domestic, their bite is their defense. So a lot of animals do bite for defense anyway. He bites his food. That's about it. Hedgehogs aren't really as common to bite. That's just not their typical go-to. If that makes sense. Oh, that was a good question. Okay, you guys, let me know how it's looking over on general social media, and then I think Instagram's looking good. You let me know. We're having some slow internet this fine evening, thanks to all the beautiful rain we've been getting lately. So I'm not complaining, because the rain is much needed here in South Texas. We've been in a drought, so we're very happy to have consistent rain the last few days, and hopefully we get some more. That way it cools off this extremely record-breaking hot summer that we've had as well, right, Linus? I'm going to show everybody Linus one more time before he says goodbye. Say bye, Linus. He's been having a good old time in this little mat, playing around, I think. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to put Linus away. Sorry, Instagram. I'm going to put Linus away. And he's been a great boy. So we are going to let him rest. It's almost time for him to party, because he's a nocturnal creature, right? I'm actually going to pause over on general social media and get our second animal. It is another mammal, so maybe you guys on Instagram can guess what it's going to be. Maybe you guys over here on general social media can also guess. I'm going to put a photo up to let you guys know that we'll be right back. And I'm going to do something new, which is play intermission music. That's something that's kind of a new feature on here. And let me know if you can hear it on general social media. You'll be able to hear it over here on Instagram, just hearing it from my device that I'm filming on. But let's try it. Let's just go ahead and do that. So I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, did the music work? So this is Alice. Alice is here today. It looks like she really likes her treats today. I want to make sure she's in a position where everybody can see. Right there. Here she is. So this is Alice. She's a Virginia opossum. This is actually the animal that most people call a possum, and that is incorrect. Possum is a different type of animal that lives over in Australia, and this is the close cousin of the possum, though, the opossum. Opossums are from the Americas, not from other places. And this is the only type of opossum that we have in the United States and Canada. And they are pretty special animals. Now, they are a type of marsupial, which means they're closely related to not just possums, but also kangaroos, koalas, and what else? Kangaroos, wallabies, tree kangaroos, Tasmanian devils, and many more. Marsupials, like the one you see before you, Alice, the opossum, they have a pouch for their young. And when mom opossum has her babies, just like all marsupials, they're born extremely tiny. But most marsupials don't have a whole lot of babies at once. The opossum does. These guys have up to 12 or 13 babies at once. Mom can have a whole bunch of them. So we'll just say 12. A dozen is a good number to remember. A dozen babies at once. They're super duper duper tiny at birth, like I mentioned. Let's all appreciate her smacking. So cute. And they're born super tiny. They can't see, they can't hear, and they can only kind of use their sense of touch and smell to find mom's pouch. They will be born or birthed, right? Of course, you know where that comes from when you're birthed. And then they will crawl into the pouch by themselves. That's actually going to be kind of their first little test of strength for survival. And they will crawl to the pouch and start nursing immediately. They'll latch on to mom's nursing areas and they will start nursing and growing up a lot. These guys grow a ton and they grow very fast in a short amount of time. There you go. I was just gonna kind of clean up after eating the peaches today. She doesn't usually get peaches. This is kind of a new thing for her, which is pretty cool. I love that she likes them. We usually use bananas, but I've also used watermelon. I use all kinds of different fruits. So that tends to be their very favorite fruits of all. Now, some of her other favorites could be things like bugs. These guys also eat bugs and other animals, but that's a lot harder to feed her right here on the show, as you might imagine. Oh my gosh, all the smacking. Kids, do not eat like that at home. You are not an opossum, and it's not cute on you. You need to eat with your mouth closed. I want to make sure we're all in focus here. Are we in focus? Maybe that was my problem. We just weren't in focus earlier. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. So opossum babies go into the pouch, like I said, right away, and they start nursing, and they usually spend about 2 months inside the pouch. Now, when they're on the end of the 2 months, they might come out a little bit, but they have to keep nursing and everything else. And when they get a little bit too big for the pouch, that's when they start crawling onto mom's back. And all those babies will actually share mom's back together. They'll lay well, they'll be on her like kind of a cross, and they'll crawl on her with their little hands. They have hands. They have feet hands as well, even with thumbs and everything, just like a little monkey would have. Hello. Do you want to eat my lipstick? Please don't. I hope it's not delicious. Oh, she's very sweet, but I don't want her to eat my lips. I'd be right here in my face. Oh my goodness. You're very sweet today. Oh, so sweet. She's just looking for more treats. Aren't you, baby? So they will actually go into the pouch, like I said, drink a lot of milk, and in about 2 months, they will go onto the back, hang on to mom's fur. She's got fur, hair, like all mammals, right? She's got these long guard hairs so they can hang on to. They have feet, hands, and even a prehensile tail, which is very handy indeed, if I do say so myself. And that can also help them to grab onto mom's body and help to stay on. Now, an opossum, when they're around like 4 months old, that is typically when they leave their mom. They could even leave a little bit earlier than that, but they typically hang on as long as they can. And at about 4 months to 4.5 months tops, that's when they start to go on their own. Oh my gosh, messy little girl over here today. And then they can actually have their own young as 6 months old. So they get started very, very early. And that is because a opossum in the wild doesn't live very long. So opossums in the wild typically only live to be 2. Alice here is 1.5 years old, and she can make it to 5 in human care. And that's simply because they start getting old pretty early in life, and they get slower. They can't climb trees as well. They can't move away from predators. They can't get out of the road. So, and they end up just usually kind of being prey for other animals or getting into all sorts of different trouble scenarios. So that's typically what happens to them. They're just very poorly. They don't age gracefully. They become a lot slower and more rickety and crotchety the older they get. And a 5-year-old opossum is extremely old, by the way. But that can happen only because we take care of them with vet visits, and we can make sure they don't have predators and feed them every day so they don't have to look for their food. We can even hand feed them if they get too old to get up and eat, right? Just like a person would be, under like maybe like a nursing home care or something like that. Hello, hello, hello. How does the fur feel? Thank you for asking. Their hair to me reminds me of a schnauzer. We have a schnauzer, one of our pets, and it reminds me of like a terrier hair. It's soft, but also a little bit wiry. So if you ever touched a Cairn Terrier, a schnauzer, what other kind of dogs feel like that? You probably have. There's many others. I just can't think right now. And I'm put on the spot. But yeah, it's kind of wiry on top, and they have a softer kind of undercoat. And their hair isn't super thick, especially if they live in warmer areas like Texas. They're not going to have a super thick fur coat, but seasonally it might get a little thicker if they live outdoors. Our opossums are spoiled and live inside. They don't have to worry about any seasonal changes or growing a furry coat to stay warm and whatnot. And opossums are typically not going to be like a hibernating animal, right? Because they don't live very long, so they're not really going to waste all of that time. So they will just kind of rough it throughout the winter, which is also very hard on wild animals, right? So that's often why, too, they will pass away because their old bodies just can't handle the winter anymore. But they're wonderful animals. A lot of people don't like them, and I don't know why. I think they're fantastic. They think they're great big rodents, and they're going to like hurt them or hurt their pets or children, or they're going to like give you rabies or all kinds of diseases like the pox and the black plague and things. That's not true. These guys really don't carry any viruses at all. So it's super rare that opossums even have any viruses, let alone rabies. And that's because their body temperature is a lot colder than most mammals. So most viruses need a warm body to live in and thrive and be able to pass on to other animals and things. These guys have a colder body for a mammal. I can't remember what their body temperature is, but they have a pretty cold body for a warm-blooded animal. And therefore, viruses don't thrive in their bodies at all. And therefore, they don't really contract or pass on rabies whatsoever. And so they're not to worry about there at all. Now, as far as hurting you, they can bite. Any animal with teeth and a mouth can bite. And these guys have a lot of teeth. They actually have 50 teeth in their mouth. You're showing everyone your hiney, and you should be showing your teeth. Turn around and show everybody your teeth. Come over here. But they have 50 teeth. They have pretty big teeth and pretty big mouths. But they're not really an animal that uses their bite for defense that often. And that's because they have other defenses. So opossums oftentimes will just hide. Another thing that they do is play dead. But did you know that it's not on purpose? So opossums don't really play dead. They actually just faint. So their system overloads and they become so scared that they pass out. And they can stay passed out for like 4 hours. And when they do that, their whole like body just shuts down. They're still breathing, but it doesn't look like it. They actually drool and sometimes vomit when that happens. They will go to the bathroom and even release a second gland that smells like death. And they will actually kind of go rigid and like a rigor mortis, like a semi-rigor mortis, and all the things. They just look terrible when they do that. So it looks like a sick and dead animal. And that is actually the whole point. They look disgusting and gross and like they wouldn't be good to eat. You don't have to cry. Her eye's a little watery today, so she's not actually crying. She just got watery eye. That's pretty normal for opossum. But these guys are not sick and diseased when that happens. It's actually just a survival technique. So their body is telling predators, don't eat it. You might die too. So if a predator comes across an opossum that looks healthy, they're actually going to see the opossum just kind of hanging out, maybe eating some food, maybe doing their thing, and then all of a sudden drop dead. That looks really bad. That looks like a disease you don't want to have, right? So most predators will avoid eating that opossum at that point. Some predators still go for it and eat them anyway, because a lot of predators don't mind a dead animal to eat, and some predators are not intelligent. I eat birds. Not that birds are not intelligent, but birds don't really mind eating dead things. And owls, for example, which is one of their main predators, isn't really going to care because they're just going to eat it. They're not super smart. Oh my goodness. Opossums aren't really the smartest either. They have a lot of cool adaptations to survive, but they're not like problem solving. Rodents are far smarter than opossums, in my opinion. They're just simple, sweet creatures that never harm a fly unless you're a fly. So I take it back. These guys actually are a little bit of a predator. They can eat insects and rodents and snakes and lizards, smaller animals really, and they actually do a lot of good for us. So a lot of people are scared of them. They think they're going to give them diseases or bite them. That's not really the typical opossum behavior. If an opossum gets really scared, they pass out and they're pacifists, right? They're hoping you just go away and leave them alone and they can wake back up. But they actually do a lot of cleanup for us too. They happen to be a scavenger, which means they'll eat leftovers from other animals too. So they don't care if they eat dead stuff. They'll eat dead stuff all day long. It's one of their favorite things to eat. They'll eat all kinds of rodents, which can spread disease, right? Like rats and mice. They'll eat, what else do you guys eat? Insects like roaches, which can also spread diseases, and worms and things. And like I said, they're cleanup crew. These guys have a very, very tolerant tummy that can eat a lot of things that other animals can't. So if an animal is eating something that they've hunted, say it's a predatory animal like a fox, and they've caught a really big rabbit, and they're not going to eat the whole rabbit. Maybe they just leave it there. Most animals won't eat something that's a little rotten or a little turned. These guys actually will. They don't care. They will eat it anyway. They're like, yes, I don't have that long to live. This is a free meal. I'm going to go for it. So they will eat like a vulture eats sometimes. They're not as impressive, in my opinion, as a vulture as far as eating the dead stuff, but these guys can eat a lot of other things that vultures can't. They can actually eat venomous snakes, they can eat some poisonous plants, and they can definitely eat rotten food. So they're awesome. They are opportunistic omnivores, and they're like a super omnivore. That means they can eat anything they want. Don't try that at home. You are not an opossum. Hello, guys. That's one healthy opossum. Thank you. That's so nice. She's an opossum, but thank you for the compliment, Alice. Her name is Alice too. So this is Alice, and you're Alice. I'm so happy you guys get to meet each other. Alice, say hi to Alice. So Alice and Cooper are our two opossums. So they're named after Alice Cooper because I like the eyeliner and the way that he looks, right? So Alice says, so we live out in the country and have a few that usually stop by. What can we feed them? Oh, here's your question. That's a great question. I don't recommend necessarily feeding wild animals, but if you live out in the country and those opossums are there anyway, and you're just kind of helping them out, just like you would maybe put a bird feeder out or something like that, I would recommend really anything. You can feed them fresh fruit. You can feed them cat food, dog food. You can feed them vegetables. They probably won't like the vegetables as much. They seem to like the meat stuff and the fruits the best. Right now we're feeding Alice some peaches for her treats tonight. She's making a splash over here with the peach juice. It is splashed over here on my desk. But yeah, so that those are a couple things that are super safe. Most things, oh my goodness, you can feed them eggs. They'll really like boiled eggs and things like that. Almost anything. There's almost nothing that an opossum can't eat, to be honest with you. But you want it to be safe foods, like in general. Like if you wouldn't eat it, you probably shouldn't feed it to a wandering opossum. I love how she's like sniffing me tonight. She's so cute. And Alice is about 1.5 years old. Her story is very interesting. She was actually found by a good Samaritan who found her in the backyard, and she was just a teeny little thing. She was far too young to be out of the pouch or away from mom yet. That is not food. That's my ring. And so somebody picked her up and knew that she was too young. It was pretty obvious. She was quite tiny. And they were able to call their wildlife rehabber that they knew locally right away. And they got her over there, and she was able to be nursed. Still drinking milk and everything. That is way too young to be on their own. And since she is actually kind of imprinted on people now, she cannot go back to the wild. So some animals that are rehabilitated, of course, they can go back to the wild if they're still, have their wild instincts and kind of avoiding people and avoiding dogs and cats. Alice will walk right up to anybody and be like, hey, snacks? You have snacks? Anybody have snacks? And not everybody's nice to opossums, of course. So she was deemed non-releasable by the government, by the powers that be, and therefore had to find a home with somebody, and happened to be us once in a while. So we were looking for opossums to be animal ambassadors, and we adopted Alice and Cooper, which is not her sibling. Cooper is from a different story. Cooper is just their companions. They're actually very sweet together. Cooper's neutered, and Alice isn't spayed yet, but we might end up spaying her. So no baby opossums for once in a while. That is not what we plan to do, and we're not allowed to do that because they're not an animal that you can just breed when you want to. But anyway, so no illegitimate children from them, but they are companions. They're very sweet together. They usually cuddle together and lick each other. Not every opossum is like that. Some opossums are extremely solitary in their tendencies, and by nature, these guys are solitary animals. But Cooper was actually stuck in a fence. He was stuck in what do you call it? A chain link fence. And I guess mom was climbing the chain link fence, and he got stuck in between the little holes the chain link fence has. So that's how we got Cooper, because he was also one that had to be rehabbed. Here's a good question: when they play dead, can they still see if it's safe to move? Not really. So when they play dead, it's a full shutdown. Not dead, but close, right? So we don't think that they can really like see. They might be able to still kind of hear and still touch, but definitely not really looking around very. Can't eat the computer. I was just trying to shut this whole live stream down. Please not eat the computer. It's like, I'm going to eat it. You said I can eat anything. I'm a super omnivore. You are, but that's not food. You can eat anything that's food, which is a good point to bring. These guys don't do well eating things like plastic or trash, right? They could eat leftovers and still be okay. But usually when they get into trash, there's lots of plastic. There's lots of things that they shouldn't eat. So that's where they end up getting in a lot of trouble sometimes. I'm just going to kind of stroke her to see if she'll stay here. That was a cute yawn that she did. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. I love that your name is Alice. That was so special. We had another a program one time where one of the small children was named Alice at one of the libraries we visited, and she was so excited that she had the same name as our animals. A lot of our animals have human names, so I'm not really that surprised that it's happened a couple of times. But yeah, we don't really think that they can really look around and be alert at all when they're in their shutdown. It's not really playing dead, it's fainting. So when you're fainting, you can't really look around either, right? Not until you wake up. And they sometimes will wake up a little sooner than 4 hours, but sometimes they do stay like that for up to 4 hours. That's a good position so everybody can see you. Adorable. Isn't she cute, you guys? I can't imagine why anybody would not love this animal, but I do understand they are kind of funky looking. And the ones that you do see oftentimes in the wild or in your yard and things like that, they're going to be the elderly. So they're not going to look their best most of the time. They're also going to be maybe not eating the best food if they're garbage opossums, you know what I mean? And maybe have like dirty fur. These guys are very clean animals, believe it or not. They do groom themselves a lot, almost like a cat does. And they like to stay clean, and they know that that's healthier and safer, because if you stink, then other animals can find you and eat you, right? And a lot of times they'll be grooming themselves or each other, sometimes if they live together, like ours. But what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. They're not dirty animals. They're not going to be running around spreading diseases. They're not going to be, she tickled me. They're not going to be, but if they're in your garbage, they might be dirty. They might have stuff on them at that point. And a lot of times these guys they're not fast. They're not getting away super fast from you. They're just going to be kind of caught in the act in the garbage can and things. And they get a bad rep, you guys. But they're very beneficial. You can absolutely leave them alone. They wouldn't harm anything except for a very, very, very small pet. So if you have like, I don't know, small pet chickens or pet lizards or snakes, very tiny dogs, but I highly doubt it that they would ever even try something like that. What else? Small pet birds, they can certainly eat small birds. Like if you have like budgies outside or something like that, but they're not going to come into your house and eat them. If you have them indoors, there's nothing to worry about at all. And really only the tiny pets are going to be the ones. You want some kibble? Is that what you want? So I had hedgehog kibble, which is just kitten kibble. So you can have that. Do you want them? Is that what you're sniffing? Here. You can try it if you want to. How about that? She does whatever she wants. She's still a wild animal. She's wild. She's going to try it. Scooting it over so everybody can see. Yeah, and there's even worms in there. They're not alive. Oh, I think she's going to go for it. Now remember, these guys are not in the raccoon family. A lot of times they'll be seen with raccoons because raccoons are also a scavenging animal. And a lot of times raccoons will dump the trash over, and then the opossum will come and clean up the leftovers. So a lot of times they'll be seen around the same time, but they're not related. Raccoons are their own thing too. And opossum is a marsupial. So they're related to like kangaroos, koalas, Tasmanian devils, and many more. Oh my gosh, I guess she likes the hedgehog food better than her own food. But she does also get some kibble. A lot of people ask us what we feed our animals. So what the opossums get as their base diet is going to be yogurt. It's going to be cat food. We do vary it up in the different types of cat food, but they prefer pate, canned cat food. They also get dry dog food, which is grain-free. The cat food is also grain-free. It's very important for opossum's coat and their well-being to have very little grain. So you can feed them grain if you just happen to be feeding an opossum in your area, but as far as their like daily food, it's really important to have mostly grain free. It helps their coat, especially in their longevity. What else? Yogurt, cat food, dog food, some sort of fruit, typically banana, but we also do all sorts of different fruits. We use some kind of vegetable, typically broccoli or collard greens, but we do other vegetables too sometimes. And they also get salmon oil, and she keeps tickling me with her whiskers. And they also get, I feel like I'm forgetting something. They get variable things as well, maybe additives. But that is really their base diet. Do you not want any more? And they do love it. It's really important for them to actually mix it all up, because opossums in human care, not in the wild, but in human care, are super picky. When they figure out what they like, they'll just eat around the rest of the food and just eat those things. Now, I do not recommend opossum for a pet. In fact, they're not a legal pet at all here in the United States. Well, actually, I take it back. I'll speak for Texas. They're not a legal pet in Texas. Some states in the United States, you can still find opossums that are bred in human care, and then they are specially bred and handled to be pets. That's the only time that that's allowed. I don't recommend them for pets for the average person, though. In fact, it's really not a good pet for anybody. They are another nocturnal species. They're extremely specialized. They're not typically this tame. She's tame-ish. Now, she doesn't really like to be held and cuddled and snuggled, except by Cooper, I guess. You guys can hold each other and snuggle each other and cuddle. But as far as with humans, she tolerates pretty good handling. She's pretty good with that. She does really, really well for presentations on a tabletop, just like this, where she can just come out and be seen and loved and and admired, and we can just teach you about them, maybe give her a little snack, and then she gets to go right back into her travel crate until she goes home. Opossums are great travelers, though. These guys are one of my favorites to kind of bring to presentations because they're super easygoing. They don't make a ton of noise. They're not super aggravated by much. They kind of just go with the flow, and they like a lot of naps. So they'll take a nap in their kennel when they travel, and they just kind of curl up. They're very clean. They almost never go to the bathroom. I've had a couple of times where she's gone, but very rare. Because they're not an animal that's going to just constantly go like a hedgehog or a rodent. These guys usually hold it most of the day, and they'll go at night. At least once a night, though. Yeah, but they're pretty clean. They like to go potty in the same place. Yeah, in the wild, they'll kind of they'll just go away from their food or away from where they're sleeping. They like to stay clean. Our opossums definitely sleep far away from where they go potty. Oh my gosh. So she's hanging onto my arm with her tail. See that? She's trying to get a better look at all the things ahead of her, which are like the camera and the lights. They don't see very well. Let's talk about their senses. So these guys are similar to the hedgehog, actually, with their senses. These guys have very good sense of touch, hearing, and smell, and that is it. Oh, taste as well. They can taste things. But as far as how they get around and navigate, it's not going to be through sight. These guys, the older they live, especially, the worse their vision gets, and their vision doesn't even start very good, right? But just like anybody, the older they get, just going to climb my shoulder today. I'm not going to let her do too much. I don't trust her 100% to not eat my hair or earring. Alice, you're a wild woman today. So don't try that at home, you guys. Please don't hug opossums or let them climb on you. They're a wild animal. You're supposed to be a wild animal. This is once in a wild. Come here. Come over here. Come to the front. There you go. Gotta get her attention. So they will use their sense of smell. That's probably their best sense. Fun fact, when you look at a mammal's head, the largest thing on their head is typically what they do best. So a big old snout is going to tell you that they smell really, really sensitively. She's also got big ears. They hear very well as well. She's got whiskers all over her face. So that's going to tell you that she uses her sense of touch to navigate as well. This is an animal out in the dark. So they certainly need some sort of navigation sense to be able to get around. That's not going to be vision. So it's really those three things: smell, hearing, and touch. And of course they taste things when they eat them or lick them. And not so good at seeing. And the longer they live, the worse their sight gets. Very sad. But she is fine. She doesn't have to worry about getting around and finding her own food at all. Oh my gosh, that's the best view I've ever gotten of her yawning, I think. So cute. Well, I think we are going to let her go back and rest in her crate if she doesn't want to groom herself. Sometimes she'll sit out here and kind of wipe her face and groom herself. And I'll just let her if she wants to keep staying out here. But I think she's about ready to go back here in a little bit. Again, this is the Virginia opossum. Her name is Alice. And Alice shares space in their enclosure with Cooper, who is our other opossum. He's a male. Alice is a female. And Alice is half the size of Cooper. So she's a pretty big opossum. She's not huge. She's probably like 4 pounds. Cooper is about twice her size. He weighs about 7 or 8 pounds. And that is typical of opossum. Opossum males are a lot bigger. They have a bigger head, bigger body, heavier, more bulldoggy looking, big teeth. These guys have big teeth in general. But the males have extra big, like canines that kind of stick out from their little, like vampires. And they're impressive animals. Are you gonna groom? Okay, if she's gonna groom, I'm gonna let her be out here for a little bit longer so you guys enjoy it. She's going to wipe her face and lick her paws. And we just love it. She's so cute. Adorable. Well, yeah, they're one of my favorites. So marsupials in general are some of my favorite mammals. Me as a person, I'm more of a snake person than a mammal person. And I like birds as well overall. But there are certain mammals that I really like, including marsupials, which are like opossums and kangaroos and tree kangaroos and all those guys. They have the pouches for their babies and everything. Some other mammals I really, this little shake, so she's going to yawn and feel sleepy. Other mammals I really like are anteaters. I like some rodents, like porcupines. And there's others as well. Are you guys ready to meet the last mammal? So we're going to get situated with Alice and let her go back and rest in her kennel. All our animals, by the way, do travel in kennels or crates or some sort of safe container. Oh my goodness. You want to stretch? She's going to stretch and lick. Oh my gosh. We're just going to keep going. Aww. So they do travel in an air-conditioned vehicle, of course, but they also all have their own containers for travel. Most of the containers for travel are appropriately sized, but they're actually kind of on the small side. That way, in case of an accident happens, they end up in a fender bender or something, they're not going to be jostled around too much. It's actually super duper important when you travel with animals for them not to have too much space, enough to stand up, stretch a little bit, turn around, maybe get a drink of water if they have water in their kennel, things like that. But in general, you want it to kind of be snug. That way they don't, jostle around too much and get hurt. Right. Well, you've been adorable tonight. We love you. You're just a furry wig right now. A furry wig with a tail. Okay, Alice, we'll see if she actually goes into her kennel on her own. Would you guys like to see that? I think I'll just keep it rolling since she's out here. So I'm going to entertain you guys. They don't move very fast, so typically she'll just stay there for a little bit. We'll get her kennel ready. She does like her kennel, so she typically goes right in. And the reason they like a kennel is because they like a small space to go curl up and take a nap. You guys can kind of see that. So this is her kennel. It's like a cat-sized kennel. What else? And she's got a blanket in there. And typically she'll just go on in. Look at that. Pretty cool. Make sure her tail is tucked away so we don't hurt her tail. And then I just shut it. And she can just snuggle up and have a little snooze while we get the next animal. Opossums are great animals, you guys. One of the easiest mammals to work with. They're slow moving. They're not super messy. They're quiet. Super quiet. That's why I like snakes the best, because they're super quiet animals. What else? They're just wonderful little critters to work with. I love them. I'm going to get rid of some of these food items over here because I won't need it for the next animal. He will have his own food. So our last animal is going to be a predator. We've had a couple of actual predators out tonight, right? And all mammals. We had a hedgehog, which is a insectivore predator, and we had a opossum, which is an omnivore. So they are mostly scavengers, but they also eat occasional things that they hunt. And our last animal is an obligate carnivore and a hunter, pretty much a top predator in their natural habitat. So let me go and get him really fast. He is in a kennel and outside the room, and so I will just step away briefly. We'll put on some more music for you guys. Let me know how that's sounding, and I'll be right back in a flash, okay? Okay, you guys. Well, intermission is now over, and this is our final animal, and his name is Loki. He happens to be a ferret. So ferrets are actually, this version of the ferret, there's a couple species. One is the black-footed ferret, and one is the domestic ferret. This is the domestic variety, although he is actually a direct relative of a very wild animal called the European polecat. So the domestic ferret has been domesticated for thousands of years, and they were originally domesticated for hunting. These guys were actually a hunting companion for humans. I thought he would stay on the table, but I guess not. And they are very good at being a predator. These guys will actually hunt things like rabbits and rats and all sorts of other animals like snakes, lizards, whatever they can catch, they will absolutely eat it. And these guys eat every single day. They are obligate carnivores with a very high metabolism for a predator. Kind of similar, actually, metabolism-wise, to the hedgehog. Hedgehogs have very high metabolism too for a predator, but hedgehogs are only out at night. These guys are actually crepuscular, which means they have varying times of activity. So they might be active or more active during the dawn and dusk. That is when you're going to mostly see European polecats and black-footed ferrets active in the wild. Now, this is neither one of those, although Loki here is actually a hybrid. His mom was part European polecat, just like we have wolf dogs, right? So he looks like a wild European polecat, but he's not. He's a domestic ferret. But these guys in nature, they're relative to the European polecat, which is where all domestic ferrets come from anyway, are extremely amazing hunters. These guys can hunt anything they can catch and eat anything they can catch within reason, and they can hunt something about 5 times the size of their body. Now, Loki's a very large ferret because he's got wild genes, right? He's just a bigger guy, and he's a male. Males are bigger than females as well. But if you imagine, he's not the biggest animal in Europe, right? There's far larger animals, bigger predators like wolverines. We have like badgers. There's of course wolves and foxes, and of course all types of predatory birds and many more. These guys, though, are one of the top predators in their natural habitat. Can you imagine that? So these guys can eat animals up to 5 times their own size, which are things like large rabbits and things like that. I'm actually going to point the camera a little bit further down because it's not showing enough of the view that I need. So I'm just going to go like this. And I think that should be much better for you guys to see him. I'm back. Just kidding. Do not worry. We are back. That's a little better, huh? So, yeah. So a very, very capable predator. And a lot of people don't know that about ferrets when they see like pet ferrets and things like that. They think, oh, what a sweet little pet. Whatever. Yeah, they're not. They are, but they're killers, you guys. These guys are like a cat. Cats are good predators too. Cats are actually very capable predators at hunting all sorts of things, right? So are ferrets. Now, ferrets don't climb trees like a cat can, so they're not going to go get birds in the nest, but they will get birds on the ground, and they will hunt all kinds of animals, especially underground. These guys are what we call subterrestrial. That means they're not only on the ground, but they're underground. Come here. You have a bowl? Will you? That would be nice. Uh-oh, I got it on your head. Sorry, buddy. That might be a little easier to show him. There you go. At least for some of you guys. Aw, show the animal, Amanda. Yeah, I think from the hand is just going to be better. He just licks it clean in 2 seconds. But these guys will certainly hunt anything underground, including rabbits or any type of rodent that goes underground. And that's typically where they live as well. It's going to be some sort of underground burrow. They won't always make the burrow themselves. They might go in and hunt all the rabbits and then just take their home afterward. That's actually pretty common for a European polecat, which is the wild version of these guys, right? There's another animal called the black-footed ferret. A black-footed ferret lives in North America in the Great Plains, and those guys are a very, very endangered species. And they also primarily hunt prairie dogs, which is another type of underground animal, and it's a rodent. So they will do the same thing. They will tend to go into the prairie dog tunnels or dens, and they will hunt them and sometimes take over their home. It's not very nice, but they're predators. That's their food. And somebody needs to eat the rodents, and somebody needs to eat the rabbits, and somebody needs to eat the vermin. So that is actually why the European polecat, the domestic ferret, was turned into a pet or a companion of some sort for animal, for humans, I mean. And that is because of their ability to hunt vermin. They can hunt things like rats or hunt rabbits for food, right? And it's been thousands of years ago. Now, he is so pretty. Now, these guys do have a mask like a raccoon, but again, I'm not a relative of the raccoon. These guys are in the weasel family. They are actually related to otters, badgers, wolverines, and many more. What else? Weasels, of course, ermines. All kinds of animals are in the weasel family. These guys have, they're always a carnivore. They have a longer body with shorter legs. They have short, kind of rounded ears. They typically are going to be an underground type animal, but otters, of course, live in the water. But river otters also do have tunnel systems or dens that they live in sometimes. And they always have fur. All mammals have hair or fur, but these guys have very thick fur. This is not an animal that would actually hibernate in the winter, though they do endure a long winter in Europe where they live, right? So these guys actually have to just stay out in the wintertime. And what they do is they just grow a very, very thick fur coat during that time so they can survive the entire winter. They are one of the main predators of the rabbit during that time because rabbits actually don't hibernate either. And rabbits are a great food source for many, many different types of carnivores that need food throughout the winter time. Did you know that? So rabbits, since they breed a lot, have lots of babies, rabbits will actually feed a lot of animals like European polecats in the wild that don't hibernate either. So other animals that do hibernate and survive the winter that way, that's how they survive with no resources. But other animals like these, they just stay out, they grow more fur, and they hunt whatever they can. And this type of animal, again, has to hunt every day. In fact, ferrets really like to hunt or at least eat multiple times a day, which is super rare for the carnivore world. So animals that have higher metabolism like these, they have to eat a lot. You can see how active they are. He's a very active animal when they're awake. They're super duper active, always moving around. And that's because their system is just go, go, go all the time. So what they sometimes do is will hunt bigger animals like a big rabbit or something, and they will store it away. And they will actually hunt as much as they can and stash away as much food as they can during the winter time because there's far less animals to eat, right? I just think he is so pretty. I think Loki is one of the prettiest ferrets I've ever seen. I may be biased, but man, he is just gorgeous, isn't he? He's very big. Like I said, he's from very, very good and healthy bloodlines. Our ferrets that we have Thor and Loki. Thor's been on the channel many times, and also not too long ago. Here, Loki. Both of those guys are actually from a very, very, what's the word? Specialized. It's from a breeder. These guys are actually from a small breeder, not from like a mill situation. Many ferrets are actually from mills, kind of like puppy mills, but for ferrets. They're called ferret mills. And some rabbits are from mills as well. A lot of animals actually are mass produced for the pet trade. Our guys are not from a mass produced situation. They're not Marshall ferrets. They're not pet store ferrets. They're from a breeder who actually took a lot of time and care to breed the ferrets very healthy and feed them right and raise them right. They actually were not fixed when we got them as babies. We actually had to neuter them later. Well, we didn't do it, but the vet did it, of course. And that makes them a lot healthier as well since they're not neutered early. And they eat raw diet as well. Our guys actually only eat raw meat, variable types of meat and different organs and bones and all kinds of skin and fur and everything else, just like they would in the wild. And that keeps them extremely healthy. Our ferrets do require vaccinations once a year, like any other type of ferret that you would have for a pet. And they get vaccinated for mostly rabies, but also canine distemper. And it's a distemper parvo combo and all of that, just like your dogs at home would get that. Canine distemper is actually one of the most deadly diseases a ferret can get, and a lot of animals too. When they do get it, it is not pretty, and it does not, they do not live. So that's very important to get your ferrets. If you have a ferret at home or you want one, vaccinate it every single year like clockwork. You want to make sure to do that. Ferrets are also susceptible to human diseases sometimes. So if you have a cold or the flu or even COVID, these guys can potentially get a little bit sick from that too. If they are vaccinated, they typically do okay, even if they're just vaccinated for distemper. Believe it or not, these guys have a great immune system. If you vaccinated them for those other viruses, they usually do okay being around you as a sick person, but I would do my best to avoid them if you happen to be a little bit sick. Let me check on you guys. That was an irrelevant comment, Ricky. Do I have all this info on my website? We're working on the website all the time, but we do have our animal pages that have some information on there. And we have many other videos regarding our animals that talk about the animal information. We're working on the website, like I said, and improving it all the time. We want to make sure that there's animal information that's up to date and whatnot. We're working on our About Us page and all of that stuff. So stay tuned for all of that. But if you want more information at any time, feel free to reach out. onceinawild.com is our website, and our number is posted on there. Our number is posted down below. That's the best way to get a hold of us. But yes, we're working on the website right now. If you guys have any suggestions for the website, that would be great. Another way to support us is actually through the shop on there. So buying some of our merch that supports our animals as well. Did you get it right? I'm not going to look at that right now, Ricky. You're interrupting. Let's see. Ricky is sometimes on the live stream too. He's the other founder of the company. Oh, that's a good point about the opossum. I see a point about, or a comment about the opossum. Maybe some people are scared because they hiss. That is another thing that opossums often do when they become scared. A lot of animals do hiss to scare away their enemies, right? So a hiss is kind of like a universal way to say, leave me alone, or else I might bite you. Opossums will typically, if they feel cornered and they can't get away, they might stop, they might open their mouth and hiss. And then if they get really, really, really scared and they feel way too vulnerable, they will just pass right out and they'll play dead. Yes, yes, yes. So if you're just joining us, this is Loki, one of our ferrets. Our other ferret's name is Thor. He was on the program not too long ago with Ricky and I. And we're just hanging out here with him, letting him eat some treats. If you're curious what they eat, they actually eat raw meat. But right now, he's eating his favorite treat, which happens to be chicken-flavored baby food. So he can lick it right off my fingers and stay busy while we talk about him. This type of animal is a little bit challenging to present in presentations. They're super smart. They're always busy and moving around and excited, and they're also kind of messy sometimes, but keeping them occupied with something they really love is the best way to present them. So sometimes we'll just hold them and have the treats where they can lick them. Where are you going? Or we'll put them on a tabletop situation like this. But we always have to make sure our ferrets are under control, if you know what I mean, because they're feisty animals. They can potentially bite, but they can also get loose and then hide underneath something or just want to run around. These guys have no fears. A lot of times they will just want to be adventurous and kind of like play and check out everything. Ferrets by nature don't really have a ton of fear. They're very stubborn. So for training them is super easy in some ways and also super difficult in other ways because they're really stubborn and they don't understand like no, and they don't understand like, hey, don't do that. And they don't like that. So they'll just do it anyway. So for example, if your ferret or a ferret that you or that someone's taking care of, like myself, I guess, if our ferrets maybe like escape out of something, so for example, we have a big playpen for them to play in, and they get all kinds of different enrichment and fun things to do in their playpen. Look at him, he looks like a seal. And if they're playing in there and they happen to find out or figure out a way to get out of there, they will never forget and they will keep doing that over and over again. You can't be like, hey, Mr. Ferret, stop escaping. That's naughty. Like a dog, you can kind of like get after them and they're like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't do that. These guys have none of that. They could care less about what you say that's naughty. They will just keep doing it. So you have to figure out a way to just prevent that sort of thing from happening. You have to ferret proof. You have to figure out something that they like. Now they do well with things like timeouts, but they don't do well with things like, yelling at them or, which you shouldn't do anyway, or getting after them. They're not shamed. They don't care. So they have no, they're just stubborn like that. Oh my gosh, he's being adorable. He's licking every last morsel off my fingers. What do you guys think? Well, it's been a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed the 3 mammal species. I don't always just do mammals, but I figured it's been a minute since I brought out some of these guys, so I figured I would do that tonight. We had a hedgehog on the show. We had a opossum. Our hedgehog's name was Linus. Our opossum's name was Alice. And this is Loki, one of our ferrets. So ferrets in the wild are called the European polecat, if they're this kind of ferret. European polecats are a little bit social, but not super social. But in human care, they're a lot more social. So it's really recommended that there's 2 or more for them to have company. And they really like to play together and have a lot of fun. Our 2 guys are not natural brothers, but they're adopted brothers, just like Thor and Loki in the Marvel universe, right? And they do play a lot. And lots of cuddling together. They're very sweet together. Loki. Come here, Loki. Don't turn off the show, please. Come over here. I'm going to need a little drink. These guys are really feisty and into everything, though. Sorry, I have a very dry throat. I need a drink. These guys are feisty and into everything. They're super curious animals. They're very destructive. Especially the healthier they are, like ours are, and the bigger they are. That's a challenge with keeping them. I don't really recommend ferrets for pets either, just like I don't recommend hedgehogs or opossums, right? But hedgehogs and ferrets are often pets, right? These guys can be kind of a more common exotic pet, if you will. Even though they're a domestic animal, they're considered exotic when it comes to being a pet. These guys don't make the best pet for most people because they're a lot of high maintenance. They're very messy. They poop a lot. It's difficult to get their diet right and their health right. They have to be vaccinated every single year like clockwork, like I mentioned. They need a lot of vet care, and they do oftentimes get certain types of cancers and diseases sometimes. Come here. Come around. Why do you keep going that way? Come here. We're not going to jump down. We're going to stay right here. Like I said, they need a lot of training, and they're really stubborn. They're destructive. They can absolutely bite and bite hard. Some ferrets don't bite at all. I guess it's kind of like cats and dogs. Some cats and dogs never bite, and some cats and dogs do. So it just kind of depends. But again, these guys don't really understand, like, hey, no, don't do that. You just have to figure out a way to kind of discourage them from biting. Ours kind of grew out of their biting stage after they grew up a little bit. I would say after a year old, they were much better, but before a year old, they were demons. They would bite so hard. And it's not because it's not like to eat us or to hurt us. They're trying to play. So these guys they're just strong, and they bite hard and they play hard with each other. They have really thick skin, so they can bite each other's skin and not hurt each other. But if they bite us, that hurts a lot. So we have to teach them that that's not okay. And the way we do that is just by not giving them a ton of attention and good things when they're biting. So we have to kind of use positive reinforcement or timeouts and things like that. And then they get the idea pretty fast that you didn't like that. And so they want more attention from you and treats and things and food. So they will just kind of lean towards not biting anymore. But it's never 100%. Loki still bites sometimes, and Thor still bites sometimes. We just have to trust them enough to where they're not going to bite us all the time, right? It's a fine line. So they're really not the best pet for every person, especially novice pet keepers. I've had several ferrets in my life, and our 2 guys that we have now are the wildest 2 I've ever known, but I still love them a lot, and they're great. Well, you guys, it's been a lot of fun. I don't mean to burst y'all's bubble with some of the animals that we have that don't make the best pets, but that's part of our education that we offer you guys. We want to teach you guys about the animals and why they may not be appropriate for you or your home. Right, Loki? But if you already have ferrets and you're interested in some of their care requirements and things like that, how you can improve, feel free to reach out to me. I have no problem with that. If you already have a hedgehog, same thing. Feel free to reach out to me about that as well. We'd love to help. If you have any animals that need placement, meaning that you can't take care of them anymore, or you know somebody that is looking to place their animals, we can't always take every animal, of course, but we have a lot of colleagues and sources where we can actually reach out to and see if we can help you out with that sort of thing too. That does happen all the time. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye here in a second. I'll try to keep Loki just out and see how that goes. I don't want to startle him or anything with the music. So here's a good question. Are they social in the wild? So like I said, they're not as social in the wild as they are in domestic situations where they've been a little bit more socialized in general as a species goes. But in the wild, they'll live with their families. A group of ferrets is called a business, which comes from the word busyness, which is why, they're so busy and things like that. Busyness is really what it started as. Now the group word for ferrets is now a business. There's no group word that I know of for opossums or hedgehogs because they don't live in groups. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to hold on to Loki and kind of wipe my hand, I guess, so I can touch things like a computer. And we will go ahead and close. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you do want to tip or donate in any way, we've got lots of capabilities for that. We've got Venmo, Cash App, we've got PayPal, we've got an Amazon wish list. We even have Patreon. You can find all those things on onceinawild.com and linked down below in the descriptions. You can support us for free by following us on all our social media. Whatever social media you like, we have it. So please follow us and subscribe to YouTube. You can like our videos, spread the word about us by maybe commenting or sharing the videos with somebody you love or people you know would like animals or animal programs. You can tell everybody about us if you have classrooms that need animal programs, if you know of moms that need a special birthday party for their child, all sorts of things. We can help you out, and that helps us out too. And if you would like to tip at all, we very much appreciate that, and our animals do too. So we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, Loki. Stay over here. We'll see you guys next time. Oh no, he's leaving. I'm really trying, you guys. But I have messy hands. There we go. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. Say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you. Calm down, Loki. He's gone rogue, you guys. Alrighty, we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place, next Wednesday, across social media, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Bye, guys.